news.
At Wheatland Seed, we've helped families prepare for the days ahead by providing fresh, locally grown food storage products. Our fall stock-up sale is in full swing, with sale prices on premium baking wheats, just $26.99 for 26 pounds, or pinto beans, just $39.99 for 21 pounds. Order today for home delivery or local pickup at wheatlandseed.com. That's wheatlandseed.com.
It's summer clearance time at Cox Honeyland in Logan for the month of September. You know Cox Honeyland for their honey, but did you know they have a fun gift store full of decor, treats, and more? Stop by for discounts on all summer and Halloween merchandise. They'll have in-store giveaways, samples, and of course, pure local honey is on sale during National Honey Month. That's Cox Honeyland and Gifts, 1780 South Highway 89, Logan.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Saturday morning, late September, and the Garden Guide continues on into fall. It's fall, Mark.
It's crazy. Next weekend when we do the show, it'll be October.
That's yeah. It is. The year is just flying by.
October is
summer's
almost
over.
here. I know people are like starting to put up Halloween decorations already. So it's like, man.
I saw that in late August.
Yeah, Halloween's on its way. And seen a few election signs out there as well too. So that means we're kind of in that season.
Oh yeah.
But you can tell because like all the vegetables are coming out of the garden like crazy. So this week we've been out picking cucumbers, and we've been picking cantaloupes and harvesting onions and harvesting potatoes, and it's just like everything's coming out of the garden right now. So it's a great time to be out in the garden. Tomatoes are all ripening up. I think we have picked about 2 bushels this week off of our tomatoes, so they're going nuts. And then I've been waiting all summer. So I've got a white nectarine that we planted last year that I was just so excited to get some fruit off of. And it bloomed like crazy this spring and set actually quite a few fruit, even though it's only 2 years old. And so we got to pick those this week, and they were just outstanding. They were awesome. They were so good. Yeah, one of my peach trees, again, a young peach tree that we just planted 2 years ago, it had 1 fruit on it. And so it kind of babied that one all summer long. And this week it was ready, and it was big, and it was ripe, and it was just like perfect. So
I have friends that they gave us some peaches to my wife and myself, and also some grapes that they were growing. Now the grapes didn't. My wife wasn't crazy about them. They were a little bit tart, but just right for me.
The grapes are probably not quite ready there yet, so we're pretty close. We're pretty close. It's usually end of September, 1st of October, and everything's pushed back a couple weeks this year on harvest season. So everything's coming on a little bit late. It wasn't the heat, the hot temperatures for the summer. It was the cold, wet, extended spring that everybody has forgotten about because it was hot and dry all summer. But all the trees were really, really late blooming. So we didn't have blossoms on the fruit trees until the last week of April, almost first week of May. And that was 2 weeks later than usual because the ground was cold and wet all of March, April, and May. And so it delayed production on a lot of the fruits. So everything's coming on a little bit late this year. But
so we just got to hope no early freezes.
Yes. So we could use another couple weeks of nice weather to harvest some more things. And it looks like the weather's pretty good for for another week or 10 days. Yeah,
very seasonal for this time of year now.
Yeah, maybe some rain end of next week, but man, we'll take some nice weather into first part of October, and you can never complain about 70s during the day. I'll take that.
I'll take that in July.
We could enjoy that for another month and a half. So that would be sensational. A lot of things happening at Anderson Seed and Garden this weekend. So our cash sale continues. We have increased the discount a little bit. So cash sale has been up to 50% at this point if you pay with cash, but it is now 60% off. We're starting to get down on a lot of trees and shrubs, so we're selling through a lot of plants, but cash sale 60% off if you pay with cash for our remaining trees and shrubs and evergreens and flowering trees. I have some nice fruit trees as well too, so 60% off if you pay with cash. We have got some new perennials that have come in. We expect some more this week, so some more mums, some more asters, and those won't be 60. They'll be just the 50% off that we've been doing so far. So those are brand new, so I can't discount those quite as much as stuff that we've been taking care of all summer long and we want to clear out. So great time to get out there and do some planting. The weather is perfect for planting, digging holes for bulbs as well too. It's like a great time to be outside and enjoy this wonderful weather that we're having. Also at Anderson's, we are starting to set up for fall and for Thanksgiving, and all of our fall decor is 25% off. So it's a really good time to come in and check out some of our fall decor. We've got some great wreaths that would go on your front door, look really festive and very fall colors, lots of fall colors, and a lot of great looking designs. All of our fall decor is 25% off, and I think there's some specific items that are even discounted more as well too. So some good sales, some good deals going on. Garlic bulbs are in stock, so we've got a great selection of garlic. We can definitely talk about garlic on the show later. Also, our fall bulbs are here. So tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, crocus, allium, they are all here, and our shelves are stocked. We've got a lot of different varieties to choose from, and they're all in bulk boxes, so you can buy as many or as few as you'd like. So if you want to get 2 of these and 5 of those and 8 of those and 1 of those, you can just like mix and match on the tulips and on the daffodils. So it's a great time to pick up your bulbs. And I like to wait till after the first frost before I plant, but we haven't hit that yet. And it doesn't look like we've got frost for at least another week or 10 days in our forecast. So that will put us into October for our first frost this year, which is outstanding. That's exactly what we need to keep things going. So come into Anderson's this weekend. Bulbs are in. Fall decor is on sale, 25% off. And our cash sale has been increased a little bit, so 60% off of our remaining trees and shrubs and evergreens if you pay with cash. So some good deals going on, Bill. You should come down.
I'll do it.
You should come down. If you'd like to join our conversation today, we've got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753 KVNU or 1-800-369-5868. And on the show today, I have a special guest. I have Doug with Agrono-TEC. Doug, thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate being invited.
Hey, it's the time of year that we need to talk grass, and you're my grass guy to go to. And so thank you for being on the show. And, everybody's kind of had a rough go of it this year with lawns. We've been cutting back on water, and it seems like weeds have popped up all over the place. And I know there's some things that we can do to try and rejuvenate everyone's lawns, get them looking good again. And we're starting to get some nice fall weather with cooler temperatures, with some nice rainstorms. We got a couple half-inch storms this week, Bill? Seems like we had two or three storms with a half-inch out of each one.
And my favorite thing, lots of lightning.
Yeah, can't complain.
Nitrogen for the soil.
Yeah, nitrogen for the soil. So what do we do to get our lawns looking good again, Doug?
Well, this is an repair or turf renovation. I liken it onto an oven. You're getting the cookies ready to be baked, and you got to warm up the oven. Well, right now the oven's hot, Soil temperatures are high, which means that germination period is going to be reduced, which means it's going to take a little less water to germinate the seed and get it established versus the springtime. So these next few weeks are just ideal to get it done, and so don't hesitate.
Yeah, we are telling people right now, depending on which grass seed you're doing, you're seeing germination in 7 to 10 days. And sometimes even quicker.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes even quicker. I planted a little bit of ryegrass about a week and a half ago, and it was up in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 5 days it was up. So it's coming up super, super quick, and just a prime time to rejuvenate lawns. So, a lot of really more awareness, I guess, in the community, especially across Utah and southern Idaho, about water conservation, and people are trying to adjust their sprinkling, and I know a lot of people still would like to have a lawn, but there's some really great varieties of grass out there that are much more drought tolerant and don't need as much water to stay green. I think that's the key element there is less water to keep your lawn green. What are some of the new varieties that you've been experiencing that will give that green without using as much water?
Well, the turf-type tall fescues, which is a major part of the Marks mix, is gaining a lot of attention finally. I've been trying to push it for years, but now the environment has said that we want to have less water and more bug resistance and a little lower upkeep and stuff, and that really hits the nail on the head, that product. So it's got that very deep root system on it. It has bug resistance. It's got fast establishment, good salt tolerance if you're in a salt-prone area, which is going to start showing its ugly head because of the lack of water being utilized to leach the salts. So the salts are going to start migrating to the surface. You're going to see them in your trees and shrubs and turf, and because we're in a salty environment, and with the abundance of water and luxury we've had in the past, we've kept them leached out and really didn't see them too bad. But they're going to start showing up as we continue to screw down the water usage and stuff. So plants that are more salt tolerant is going to be a necessity, and turf-type tall fescue and perennial ryegrasses are the high end on that. And then, of course, we want to have activities on our turf, and again, turf-type tall fescue and perennial ryegrass are more wear tolerant than bluegrass. The only thing that bluegrass has got is rhizomes, which will fill in. These other grasses are bunch-type grasses, but bluegrass is just a high-maintenance turf, and we've had the liberties of labor and water and stuff to keep it going, but it may be time to look at it.
Yeah. And, that mix that you mentioned, my mix, the Marks mix, has that turf-type tall fescue and the perennial rye, turf-type rye is in there. And, we've had a lot of very happy homeowners that have been planting that, whether it's for their entire lawn or whether they're just doing some of their low water areas like their park strip or maybe the section out back where they want the kids to be able to play soccer on all summer long, but water once a week instead of twice or three times a week to keep it green. And I know with our Marks mix that we've planted in one section of our lawn, we water it about 50 to 60% less than the rest of our lawn, and so it's getting much less water. But I'll tell you what, it stayed green all summer long, just all summer. It looked great.
Yeah, and we need to start looking at our landscape how we're utilizing it, and so forth and so on. The whole 4 sides of a house don't have to be the same kind of grass. In fact, they probably shouldn't because of shade.
Right. It's
time to design your landscape so it's more functional and more efficient.
Right. And everybody has, up to this point, been planting the same grass all the way through, and not all grass can tolerate the shade, and not all grass can tolerate hot, dry locations, and there's a big movement throughout the state to flip the strip, flip your park strip, and get rid of that turf, and put down more mulch and more plant material, and it's like, yeah, that's great, but if you've only got 20 or 30% plant material in there compared to 100% plant material, you feel the heat. It is definitely not as cooling effect as it is having that turf out there. And there's just something about turf that helps clean the environment. It keeps the dust down. It keeps it retains water.
I have a call-in question for you, Mark. Here's my call-in question. How are people going to cope with weed control? Are they really well versed and know how to keep the weeds out of the mulch, rocks, and what? I mean, the beauty of turf is that it is a ground cover, and it really does a pretty darn good job of choking out weeds that people don't want and controlling the dust and mud and stuff like that.
And rain.
So people covered their So as they covered their world with rocks and so forth, and all of a sudden these weeds start coming up, and they get very prolific,
Yeah.
Are people going to be able to cope with that versus just taking a lawnmower out and cutting those weeds down?
It is an easier maintenance for sure, but we've found, especially where we've got children that live down in Arizona, if they get a half inch of rain, it floods. It floods everywhere. It's like there's nowhere for the water to go because the soil out there is it's like concrete, and so it just runs off the top, and it all accumulates, and every low spot has a foot and a half of water in it. Well, we get a half inch of rain here, and the grass traps that rain and pulls it down into the soil and filters that water and keeps it from running off. And so there's some distinct advantages to having turf, and we don't have to have turf that we have to water every other day. We can have turf that needs to be watered, once every week instead, and still keep that green, lush, cooling effect. And like you said, keeps the dust down, filters all that water, keeps things cooler, keeps the weeds down.
Yeah.
Easier to maintain.
Yeah. So I'm really concerned as people migrate into these new ideas, if you will, i.e. rock and stuff, that they're just going to be inundated with weeds. And once you get behind on the weed program, I'm telling you, man, it's tough to catch up.
Yeah. Yep, it is. It is for sure. Yeah. And weeds have been out of control this year too, because we did have that cool, wet spring, and a lot of weeds germinated. And it seems like come Mother's Day, everybody's lawn had weeds in it like crazy. And so if you didn't get those under control, they're still hanging out there right now. So fall's also the best time.
Right.
Fall's the best time of year to control weeds, and whether it's morning glory or thistles or mallow or dandelions or clover or whatever it is you're trying to get out of your lawn, this is the time to do it. But after you get the weeds under control, then you've got little bare spots all over. So again, perfect time for reseeding.
Yeah, little cubby bear spots.
And we want something to take those bare spots, so whether we're controlling weeds and leaving some bare spots, or whether we're aerating our lawn, for fall, which is a great time to do that as well too. once you do that, incorporate some of these newer varieties of seeds. I've had customers in for the last 2 months with insect problems, grubs or bill bugs or sod webworms or whatever it is, and they're putting on $50 to $100 worth of insecticide, every year and sometimes twice a year, and I'm just like trying to tell them, it's like, hey, you could buy $60, $70 worth of grass seed and incorporate some new varieties of grass in there that are tolerant or resistant to insects, and you won't have to do it every single year. We'll just do it once, and then all of a sudden you get a grass in there with all the endophytes in there, and no more bugs. So
that's right. No, we've come a long ways. It's with these genetics and new varieties, but you've got to incorporate them. And after you aerify, or whatever, that's when you want to incorporate these new varieties. And incorporate with the fertilizer some seed.
Yes.
And you'll see wonderful results.
Yep. In our lawn program, it's right after Labor Day is when we're encouraging people to fertilize, to perk the lawn back up after a hot, dry summer, and it really does make a difference. I'll tell you, my grass looked amazing this spring with all that extra moisture that we got, and looked good throughout the summertime, and it's back to that same point again where it just is really healthy and thick and green and nice. We've been getting all these great rainstorms, and I haven't turned my sprinklers on for 2 weeks. So it's been great. When it started raining, we just shut the sprinklers off, and we've just been getting those storms rolling through, and half an inch of rain twice a week, and you just don't have to water at all. So great way to go.
Yep.
Great.
So any questions on turf? Anyone calling in?
So far, we've not had any phone calls, and if anyone would like to join our conversation, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868 if you'd like to join our conversation. Doug's going to be here for a little bit longer. I know you've got another engagement this morning to participate in, but we appreciate you being on. We appreciate you being on the show and coming and talking about turf and how to rejuvenate your lawn. Great time to fertilize, perfect time to overseed. And right now, are you seeing any supply chain issues, kind of like we had last year for seed for next year, or the crop a little bit better? It seems like it's been much better, better weather.
I was up in Oregon a lot of the time this summer and watched the harvest. It was a little bit slower, but the yields were adequate. There wasn't any carryover, but the seems like the yields were good. The prices have come down just a hair, so we're in a much better position this year than last year by far.
That's great. That's good news. I know you didn't have those 115-degree days up there in Oregon. That was kind of hard on the growing season last year. Nice to have some better production. Any new varieties in the pipeline that we can be really excited about that you're noticing as well?
Well, I would say something that is getting a lot of attention is going back to our grandfathers, great grandfathers era of lawn where they had a touch of clover.
Yeah.
You're seeing more Dutch white clover being utilized, and people are catching the vision of having a self-nitrificating lawn where they don't have to fertilize as much. Then, of course, clover is a very drought-tolerant product itself. The only thing is that on a annual basis, you want to do what's called a chemical pruning of the clover so it doesn't eventually just take over.
Yeah.
And you just take a light dose of 2,4-D, or you might have something else, and just chemically prune it back. You're not going to eliminate it, but just prune it back so that it doesn't take over. But yeah, clover has been extremely popular. Kind of caught me off guard, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot. We've been seeing a lot more people doing that and asking for clover a lot more than years past, for sure. Right,
and so somebody's getting the message out there about again, a lower maintenance environment, and they're seeing the benefits of that. You know.
Yeah.
So. There's a good part of all this low water stuff or drought or whatever you want to call it. It wakes us up.
Yep. Hey, we've got some phone calls now, Doug. So let's go out to the phone lines here and take our first caller. Bill, who's up?
First up is Kevin.
All right. Good morning, Kevin. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Thank you. My question is, when you're spreading like fertilizer or weed killer or something, is there advantages or disadvantages, or is it about the same for a liquid compared to a granulated spreading? Or
there are some advantages for sure. And if you're using an herbicide, the liquid is more effective when it comes to weather conditions. So it's a lot more forgiving. So if you have to do like a weed and feed, you need to have like perfect weather conditions. We need temperatures below, 85 degrees. We need it to not rain. We need to apply it when the grass is a little bit damp. It needs to get watered in within 24 hours. And so you've got some conditions that you've got to meet for a weed and feed. But if you're doing a liquid application for weed control, it's much more forgiving. You can spray in the morning, you can spray in the evenings. Usually it's rain fast within just a few hours, sometimes even less, depending on which product you're using. And if it rains right after you put it on, it's not going to make that much of a difference. It's still going to kill weeds very effectively. And so there really are some differences. When it comes to fertilizers, I still prefer a granulated fertilizer. You're going to get a longer, slow release of nitrogen out of your granulated fertilizer compared to a liquid. It's going to pick it up a little bit faster. Doug, do you have any other experiences with that?
When I taught a class in a college on turf, we just had a laboratory experiment with the weed and feeds versus the liquid, and the liquid herbicides just coat the leaf very well and get translocated into the plant, do a much better killing job. But you're exactly right on the fertilizer. You do want to have a granular for the reasons you've cited and stuff. So, yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, Kevin. Perfect time to fertilize. It's cool. It's nice, and grass is going to really respond. So. All right. Thanks for the phone call. We've got a couple other callers online, but we need to take a quick break, don't we?
Yeah, so Curtis and Tammy, hang on.
All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of the Garden Guide.
I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Well, the issue has been embraced by the Utah Lieutenant Governor, Deidre Henderson. It's also gotten attention from lawmakers in Utah and has become a federal movement as well. It's an attempt to cap the high cost of insulin that affects hundreds of thousands of Americans and millions around the world. During KVNU's For the People show this week, Diana Thomas, who is the support lead for the Utah chapter of Insulin for All, said that Utah has helped by controlling costs if your insurance has a Utah-managed plan.
If you're, say, some employer, especially larger employers, will often have a more national plan, or somewhere is managed by another state, they do not have to follow that price cap. In order to help those people who were not covered directly by, Utah managed plans, they offered Utah savings so that what is offered is the same as what state employees pay.
You can learn more about Insulin for All's Utah chapter by visiting them on Facebook. And as the irrigation season winds down, the state's reservoirs are near the same level as they were last year, according to officials. Reservoir levels started the season much lower, which means Utahns have drawn less water from reservoirs when compared to last year. Candace Hassenjaeger, director of the Division of Water Resources, said that the efforts that the legislature, residents, and municipalities have made are working. She says the water usage did increase during the record hot temps earlier this month, but overall, Utahns across the state have helped save billions of gallons. Well, it doesn't look like we'll see any rain, at least through the next 7 days of the forecast, as we're going to enjoy sunny, clear skies. Temperatures during the day staying right around the mid to high 70s, with overnight temperatures staying right around the mid to low 40s. I'm Will Feelright for KVNU News.
At Wheatland Seed, we've helped families prepare for the days ahead by providing fresh, locally grown food storage products. Our fall stock-up sale is in full swing, with sale prices on premium baking wheats, just $26.99 for 26 pounds, or pinto beans, just $39.99 for 21 pounds. Order today for home delivery or local pickup at wheatlandseed.com. That's wheatlandseed.com.
We're Aggies. We've seen good times and we've seen the tough times. Through thick and thin, we always show up. Let's get ready for Saturday's 5 p.m. kickoff versus UNLV with a stop at Locker 42. Show them we're Aggie fans with a new Aggie t-shirt. Locker 42 has Aggie tees in short and long sleeve designs. Locker 42 will have you looking good for game day with hoodies and jackets and sweatshirts or a new Aggie hat. Locker 42, shop either location, 1430 North Main next to Little Caesars, and the flagship store downtown at 36 South Main.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
All right, good morning. We are back again here at the Garden Guide. Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. I've got Doug Washburn with Agrono-TEC Seed, and Bill's here as well too. So glad to have you here on the show today, Bill. It's great.
The whole gang's here.
Great to have you here. Yeah,
Thank you.
Great to have you here. We are talking grass seed. We're talking planting. We're talking aeration, fertilizing, weed control, anything that has to do with lawns, how to conserve water, how to incorporate some new insect-resistant varieties in there. And we've got a couple callers that have patiently waited on the line. So let's run right back out there. You good to stick on the show for a little bit, Doug?
Yeah, I got a few more minutes.
All right, sounds good. Okay, Bill, who's up next?
We have Curtis.
All right, good morning, Curtis. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Morning. Comment on your turf and cooling, and the guy in St. George that does lawn care. And he says people down there that went in and took out their turf and put in the rocks and that, their air conditioning cost goes up about 1/3.
Yeah.
When they have an extra house, so it can't help on that. So,
it does. It does make a difference between trees and turf and plant material. It makes a huge difference. So, if we can try, and, every time you take a tree out, plant 2 back. is best way to do it. So, yeah. All right.
My problem, I've been fighting it for a few years. It's a shaded area, a big ash tree, and a privacy fence, and have snowball bushes on one side, and it's basically get sun in the morning, and that's it. And I tried the Mark mix 2 years ago in the spring, and it made a difference. It's a little blotchy, the colors, and I done it this spring, and I called the lawn service company, said, you put pre-emergent in with it, and they said yes. So I marked the area, not where I'd seeded, and they did.
Yeah.
I caught him. What he was doing? No, it's on the other side. I had pink ribbon and everything on, but anyway. And so I'm wondering, I about enough to do it again this fall, but do I need to rough rake it and make it more to get in there, or could I just buy some that's really good for shady areas? Because I got dirt showing in some places. I mean, it's high use, too.
Right.
We have grandkids, and they get beat up.
Suggestions for the best type of grass for shade, Doug, and then I've got some good suggestions on how to get it to thicken up to add to what you've got to say.
Right.
So,
the best grasses for shade are not going to be the creeping type of grasses. And so you're just going to have to be on an annual overseed program as the plant goes through its life cycle. You just got to put more seeds down there to keep the plant population up and density up. So it's just going to be part of your maintenance program like fertilizer. But yeah, you're on the right path as far as March next. Fescues are the most shade-tolerant grasses out there. So stick with that. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and I say what we found with the shadier locations is, especially if you're overseeding, mow first and mow a little bit closer, broadcast your seed over, rake it with the leaf rake, and then a little bit of moisture every day just to keep that grass seed moist and slightly damp to get that grass seed to germinate. But then when you're mowing during the summertime, you usually want to mow your regular grass a little bit taller so it helps with drought tolerance and so it doesn't dry the soil out as quickly. But in those shadier locations, you definitely want to mow a little bit closer to encourage it to spread a little bit more, and then fertilize a little bit heavier in there as well too. So variety of grass makes a big difference. How you mow makes a big difference. Like Doug suggested, overseed just a little bit each year to encourage new grass to replace the older grass that's going to gradually just die out over time, and fertilize a little bit more. And that should make a big difference, Curtis.
And the other thing I'd interject is that those folks who have high shaded areas do a lot of this seeding before the leaves come out and after the leaves part, if you can, because you got to get sun down there.
Yes.
So if you do it before the leaves come out on the trees or after, you might have a better chance.
Good suggestion.
So it'd be best to wait till the leaves fall and then seed, or where the weather's.
I say we're getting
a little warmer. Do it now.
Yeah, we're getting close. Leaves are going to be changing colors here pretty soon. We're almost to the 1st of October, so probably a perfect time to go ahead and plant those. And if you need to, just throw a little bit more out there towards the latter part of October, as the leaves are coming off.
Right. Okay. Just keep feeding it. Huh?
You got it.
But one other question, quick. I don't mean to leave the turf, but put the tree treats in and. Few of them, not all of them, but some of the holes that I got a little bit of color coming out, darker, brown.
Yeah.
Did I not angle them in enough, and they've kind of worked back out as they melt?
That's a possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay, I just want to. Most of them look good, but I got a couple of them that a little bit of brown coming out.
Yep. And the iron, as it gets exposed to the sun, it'll turn black. And so that's a possibility. So yeah, just a little bit more angle on your hole when you're drilling those holes, and you should be in great shape.
Okay, I'll keep putting the seed down. See if I can get it sticking up a little bit.
All right.
It is a high traffic area. It's kind of a playground for the grandkids. So
yeah. All right.
Well, thanks for your time.
Good luck, Curtis.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you so much. All right, Bill, who's up next? I think you said...
Yeah, it looks like we have Tammy.
Tammy. Excellent. Good morning, Tammy. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning, Mark. I do have a question for Doug. I am wondering, how do you know when it's a disease or a bug in your grass? Because I have a problem area that I have this problem every year, and it just goes yellow in spots, and it's not my dog because she doesn't pee in that area, but I can't tell if it's a disease or if it's a bug.
Maybe it's your neighbor's dog.
Well, it's kind of in a pattern. It's, and it's in the same area every year, and I don't know. I want to treat it, but I don't know how to treat it.
Well, if it's bugs, there won't be any roots because the bugs eat all the roots off. So that's one way when you pull it up. If there's resistance and the roots are still there, it could be a disease problem. Usually with the disease, you have leaf lesions. kind of like sores on the leaf.
Yeah.
So that would, if it's rhizoctonia, brown patch, something of that, you'd have these lesions. But, really, because of our environment, we bring our diseases upon ourselves by how much water we apply. And I would dare say that with the reduction of water, we've probably seen a reduction
of disease,
summer diseases.
Yeah, we usually see a lot of dollar spot. We see a lot of summer patch. We see quite a bit of necrotic ring spots. We've seen a bunch of that lately. Tammy, what I do is when I go out, in fact, I'm going to 2 people's homes today to do a consult with them to try and help them figure out their lawn. The first thing that I do when I get there, when I get out of my vehicle, I will pull my pocket knife out and I go to the best looking spot in the lawn, not the worst. I go to the best looking spot and I cut a 10 by 10 inch square and I pull up on it, and you can feel how attached the roots are, and you can see how moist the soil is, and you can kind of just get an idea what a good sample of the grass should look like at their location. And then I put that piece back. Then I go to the spots that are damaged, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll cut that 10 by 10 inch square. I'll pull up on it, and if it's been insect damage, I'll just grab it and it just pulls up like a piece of carpet, like there's no root system left attached to it. And so I can tell in comparison to the good sample that I looked at first, it's like, all right, this just tore out super easy, where the other sample I had to really struggle to get it to come out. And so then that indicates it's insects. But if you dig down in there and you start to pull it back and the soil is completely dry all the way through and the other sample was wet, then it's either a sprinkler issue or the water's just not soaking in, or you got some compaction problems. It's a soil issue. And so if you can eliminate whether it's insects or whether it's a water problem, whatever's left over is disease. So if you dig in there and the soil is equally moist as the first sample, the sod won't pull out really easy. It's really well attached. You've eliminated the other 2 possibilities. And so at that point, it's almost always disease that's causing the problems, or some other environmental factor, whether it's dogs have come and peed on that spot, or maybe you're filling the lawnmower with the gas at that point and the gas burnt it. I mean, so there's some different things that can cause it as well too. But if you can eliminate whether it's insects or whether it's moisture by checking that good looking spot first, and then you have something to compare it to, it makes it a lot easier to diagnose what's happening in your lawn. So.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'll have to try that. It's now that we're getting more rain, these rainstorms, I have noticed that it's greening up, so maybe it's not either of those, and maybe it is a water problem.
Yeah, and I went to
so maybe what I need to do is just plant different grass that needs less water.
That would help. I went to somebody's house 2 weeks ago and went out there, and she's got just one section of her lawn, but it's got a little bit more slope to it. It's got a little bit more compacted soil, and so her sprinklers were hitting it just fine, but the water was running off. It wasn't penetrating in, and so she'd watered that morning, and I checked a good spot. Soil was moist all the way through, went to the spot that was having problems, and instantly we could tell that it was much, much drier. In fact, it was almost bone dry compared to the other location that we checked. And she's like, God, I thought it was bugs for sure. It's like, no, it's so dry right here. I don't think any bugs could possibly live in this soil, so you have to physically get out there and just check it to find out. That's the only way to do it. Pictures just don't.
I will.
Yeah, pictures just don't cut it. People bring me photos all the time. It's like I'm sorry, I can't tell. It all looks the same.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, anyway, I will try that, and I want to make a comment on the park strip. I do have the rocks out front.
Yeah.
And you are correct. The weeds come. You get weeds regardless of whether you have the high quality weed cloth or not. But
yes. Yeah.
I do want to mention that my weeds are the prettiest weeds in town because they're snapdragons.
And they are weeds. God, they come back like crazy.
They are. They come up everywhere, but
they're so pretty.
I pull the ugly weeds and I leave the pretty ones.
The ones. Awesome. That sounds like a great solution, Tammy. So
anyway, thanks for your advice.
You're so welcome. Thanks for calling this morning. All right. Doug, you got to take off?
Yeah, I need to take off, Mark. Thanks a lot for having me.
You are so welcome. Thanks for being on the show. You have a careful ride back home.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy. All right. We've got another caller, Bill, correct?
We have Beth, who has waited patiently.
Awesome. Beth, good morning. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hello.
How are you?
I just have a question about the artificial turf.
Yes.
On the mow strip.
Is that something you're considering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the mow strip, most of the water is wasted on the sidewalk or the road.
Yeah. How wide is your park strip? Is it a 3 foot or is it 6 or?
Probably 3.
It's a 3 foot, so it's a shorter one. It is difficult to water turf in that area. We have talked to other people that have done the artificial turf. I mean, it does look green, but it doesn't give you a lot of the same qualities that a drought tolerant grass would give you out there. Various communities have encouraged more plant material out there in the park strip. Any type of plant material really helps cool things down a lot more than a mulch or rock or gravel or anything else in that park strip. And go ahead.
Excuse me. I'm in an HOA.
Yeah.
And whatever I do, everybody else has to do the same thing.
Yes. And
that's why I was thinking about artificial turf.
There are covenants with HOAs that you've got to double check and see, because I know there's some conflict in Salt Lake with people that have done artificial turf and then their HOA has not been happy with that. So that's something I would definitely recommend you research first. But what we've found with the artificial turf is it does help to filter the water like regular turf would, but it doesn't give you the cooling effect that turf or trees or other plants, shrubs or flowers would give you in that location. So just be aware it does generate a lot more heat, and so. There's a lot of things we can do to swap out the grass that's in our park strip and put something in that is still green and still turf, but uses a lot less water. And if you've got a small strip like that, it actually works better to use a soaker hose than it does to put sprinklers in there, because, like you said, half the water ends up on the sidewalk and doesn't actually get to the grass. And so I would recommend thinking about doing a more drought-tolerant turf out there, or some ground cover landscape. The plant material is always going to be more beneficial heat-wise and water-wise than just putting in artificial turf. Okay.
I have one other question about I have a beautiful geranium plant on the west side of the house, and it's quit blooming.
We've seen a lot of that this year. There is a insect, and it's called a budworm, and the budworms affect petunias and geraniums especially, and they will eat the flower buds before they open up. And so this summer, about the latter part of August, there was a huge outbreak of tobacco budworms, and they pretty much ate all the flowers off of all the petunias and all the geraniums. And so until you get those caterpillars under control, they will just stop blooming. The plants look healthy, the plants look great, but they're kind of sticky, so the leaves get kind of sticky, and there's little teeny caterpillars that are just chewing all the flower buds up. So we saw that happen here in Logan, and I've seen it kind of all over the valley, but those budworms are tough to control. You got to use a little bit different combination of insecticides to get them under control, because they're very resistant to a lot of different insecticides. But spinosad is probably one of the very best. It's an organic insecticide, kills caterpillars like crazy on contact as well as by ingestion. So that would probably be one of the best options for you to use, either spinosad or spinosad soap, and get those guys under control.
I sprayed them with the spinosad.
Yeah.
I did petunias in the back and they came back really good.
Yeah. The geraniums are a little slower to produce flowers, so they're gonna be a little bit slower. But they had decimated some of our petunia baskets at our house, and we got them sprayed, got them under control, and now they're all just blooming again like crazy. So it takes a couple weeks for them to come back, but those geraniums will start blooming again if we get some good weather. Even if we get a little bit of frost, the petunias and geraniums will continue to bloom until we get a hard frost. So you can enjoy those for another couple weeks. No problem.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So, and I've used that bug blaster also.
Yeah, and the combination of those two is very effective. So the bug blaster has bifenthrin in there, and the spinosad has that natural bacteria that will take care of the caterpillar. So sometimes we even mix the two together, and the combination's super effective.
So I sprayed the spinosad again last night. Can I use the bug blaster?
Absolutely.
Today?
Yep. Do it in the evening when it's cooler, and it's always better to get the budworms. If you're going to apply an insecticide for the budworms, do it in the evening just before the sun goes down, because that's when they become active. And so evening's the best time to control budworms, but much better than morning applications. So
yeah, that's when I sprayed them last night.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Beth.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye. All right, we've got a few minutes left. We could probably get another phone call in if we've got about 5 minutes. 753-5868, 753-KVNU.
Call now or forever hold your peace.
Yes, until October. Until October.
That's right, October 1st.
Until October. So, yes, great time to control weeds. We've been talking turf and lawn care and fertilizer, but this is like prime time for weed control. So if you're struggling with weeds in your lawn, Weed-Free Zone is your best option for right now. It works in cooler temperatures, works on harder to kill weeds. It works really, really fast, and it kills the hardest to kill weeds out there: morning glory, thistles, mallow, clover. Had someone ask yesterday about puncture vine, little goat heads. Does a great job on those. In fact, it's much better than Roundup or Kills All on some of those broadleaf weeds. Super, super effective. It is garlic time, so it's time to get out there and plant garlic. And I've got I think we've got 18 varieties left at Anderson, so a lot of different varieties of garlic to choose from, hardnecks as well as softnecks.
When would you harvest them if you planted them?
Next July. So you plant the garlic in the fall, so September and October is when you plant, and then by the end of July, 1st of August, you're harvesting your new garlic for next year.
There you
so
go.
You're going to break those cloves apart, plant each little individual clove about every 6 inches and about 3 to 4 inches deep, and then next year you'll harvest them and you'll have full heads of cloves with anywhere between 8 to 12 cloves in each head. So they'll multiply that much. So one clove will turn into about a 10-time return on your investment, which is
we go through lots of garlic. So
yeah, some of my favorites. I love German Red, Spanish Roja is really good. Music. Susan Delafield, I know I've got all 4 of those. And then last year I tried some new varieties. We tried the Purple Glazer. That was really, really good. And also the Persian Star. That was excellent. Those have a nice purple wrapper to them. Hardnecks, really great varieties. Great rich flavor to both of those. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so those are excellent. Fall bulbs are in, so tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, crocus, alliums. We've got those all in stock. It's time to start thinking about planting your bulbs so you can enjoy beautiful colors next spring, and great time to do that. And a lot of people are starting to trim their perennials, clean those up. Great time to do a little fall cleanup as the weather starts to change, so trim those perennials down. Had somebody in the other day, they're like, God, my bleeding heart's just dying back, or my peonies just dying back. They don't seem to be doing very well. Yeah, it's that time of year where they die down. And so I just get out there with the weed trimmer and just trim those down, and they come back again brand new the next year. So good time to get out there and trim some of those older flowers, spent flowers off, and older foliage on some of those perennials that just come back year after year. Good time to do that. And it's a little early, but some people are starting to prep their roses for fall. So this is when you stop pruning Stop fertilizing the roses. Let those final flowers from September and into early October, just let those fade on the plant. Don't prune them, and let the rose develop rose hips. And that's when your roses will naturally start to get more hardy for the winter. They'll start to prep for winter better that way. So no more pruning on the roses, no more fertilizing. And then in about 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to put our rose cocktail on there to get them ready for winter. So little magnesium sulfate, little potash, that'll help get the roses a little more prepared for winter time, and get those ready for the next blooming season as well too. So, Bill, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's great.
It's been fun.
Great to have you here. Cash sale still going on, 60% off if you pay with cash. Fall decor is 25% off, and it's a great time to come into Anderson Seed. We've got what you need this fall for grass seed or fertilizing or weed control, and a lot of great fall decor coming out as well too. So it's that time of year. All right. We'll be back again next week with another edition of The Garden Guide, and y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
KVNU, Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM with the best talk and information.